Action.
So just really chaos on the water at this point.
Danger.
This is no game. We're here to do a real job.
Adventure.
I've been around the world twice and I've seen everything 3 times.
You're listening to Sea Story.
Episode 3, Focus.
Hello, my name is Senior Chief Gilbert Dominguez. I'm originally from Idaho Falls, Idaho, and this is my sea story. My job or rating in the Navy is a religious program specialist is my rating, so the Marines call it a chaplain's assistant. My chaplain and I, we were in Kuwait waiting to go into Iraq, and it was March 22nd. We had heard that Saddam Hussein was going to be firing scud missiles in our general direction. A scud missile doesn't have any internal guidance system. It's kind of like a bottle rocket. You light it, and wherever it goes, it goes. That particular morning, I remember we were getting ready to deploy. We had gotten the word that we were going to go into Iraq very soon. Didn't know when, but we were going to leave soon. It was a clear morning. The sky was really blue, and it had been cold earlier, but this particular morning it was kind of warm. But we were still required to wear our gear, chemical, biological, radiological gear, protective gear. Not our gas masks, but we had them on us because we just wanted to be ready. That's how we were postured. I was in this quad-con going through some supplies, and all of a sudden I remember hearing this noise that sounded like aggressive, violent ripping of something. And I remember looking up and seeing a bright, shining something coming our direction. And I remember thinking to myself, that's a Scud missile. And I remember it ripping through the sky, like it was just violence. I remember thinking, death. It was pretty amazing to see. As it came over our head, it sounded like a jet ripping over your head really, really fast. And as soon as it flew over our head, we lost sight of it over the horizon. The alarm was sounded for gas. You take your fist and you go, your gas, gas, gas. Your training kicks in, you put your mask on, and you go jump into a bunker. So I proceeded to get my gas mask on, and I got my rifle, and we'd jump into the bunker and wait for the all clear. As I was putting my mask on, there was a couple of Marines where I was standing at the time. And this one particular Marine, he was a young guy, 18, 19 years old, and we had remember talking to him before. He really went into shock. Maybe the first time he'd ever seen something like that, as it was for the rest of us too. But instinctively for a lot of us, your training just kicks in. Well, he did go into shock and became really disoriented and was just panicking, like, just going in circles, like he didn't know what to do. He panicked. I will never forget this. There was a female sergeant who was there. She was always really, really sharp. I will never forget that. As I was putting my mask on and seeing him struggling, literally, where do I go? Well, what do I do? This female sergeant grabbing him, throwing him to the ground, getting his gas mask, putting on his face, looking him in the eye, and said, "Get to the bunker.
Get to the bunker."
He got up, she grabbed him, his rifle, and she pushed him into the bunker, landed on top of him, and she was looking at him saying, "Focus.
Focus.
Focus.
Focus."
I'm thinking to myself, that is phenomenal. Because at the time, there was a lot of discussion about women in combat. How close to the front line should women be? In that moment, and I'll never forget it in my life, that I had witnessed a Marine in combat in a situation to where training had to take over. And I never saw that female Marine as a female, only saw her as a Marine. And she knew what to do. And she was able to help another Marine get to safety. And to this day, if someone was ever asked me, are women capable of being in combat? My answer is a resounding yes, because I've seen it. I've seen that if we as military men and women remember our training and instinctively let the training kick in, we'll be fine, regardless of whether we're male or female. Afterwards, we got the all clear, we all came out, and then eventually going in Iraq the next day on March 23rd. But I'll never forget that. And I told that Marine, I'm really proud of you. You really changed something for me when I watched you take over a situation like that. That was something I'll never forget.
On the next episode of Sea Story.
He was like so mad. He was like fuming. He's like, I'm gonna find that guy and everything. I was like, dude, you're never gonna find this guy again. I was like, don't worry about it or anything.
Sea Stories brought to you by America's Navy. Learn more at Navy.com.